Alright guys, this is my first review video, so please cut me some slack here. I am choosing to do my first review on a vape product which is called the Smok Novo 3. Excuse me. Now this vaporizer here is a little bit dated, but it is actually the most up-to-date vaporizer that I have in my house. I have a lot of old used up vapes in my house, like RTAs, RDAs, other types of mods. They're all used up, and that's why I had to buy this thing. And it's actually not too bad. I've only had it for a couple days, and so far it's working out pretty well. So I figured I got it off of a nice website that sells juice and devices for very reasonable prices. And this is not a new product whatsoever. The Smok Novo 3, which is what this is called, it's not a recent product at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is about 3 years old now, but it's still a decent product. I've been using it for two or 3 days, as I just said, and I'll just tell you a little bit about it, and I will show you how to prime a coil or set it up and do what you need to do to start vaping it, especially if you're new. First of all, it has a 800 milliamp hour battery. The pod comes out here. Second of all, the pod is or at least on mine, is very difficult to get out, which is a good thing, because that means you're not going to have any issues with it just slipping out or anything. Good God, sometimes I have to use, oh, there we go. Came out. That's what I'm using right now. There you see in the bottom, the connection area there. Actually, I'm not even going to put it back in, because I'm going to show you guys how to prime the coil, or prime a new coil rather. It's got a micro USB charging slot right there, or charging port rather. Now then, consider this, it's a two or 3 year old device, so it doesn't have the C charging port yet. It's very small. It feels really good in the hands. It's very small. Now, I keep track of these things, and the predecessor to this is the Novo 2, and I've looked it up. I've never owned the Novo 2, I've never owned the Novo 1, but from what I've seen is that this one, there is actually absolutely no difference between this one and its predecessors. None whatsoever, except for its color options, which I thought was incredibly strange. But it is what it is. Anyway, so you have that, and the coils that the kit came in were 2.2. The kit came with 2 coils, and both of them were .8 mesh coils, and I think they're more geared for mouth to lung vaping, which is the same way you'd hit a cigarette. And they're very nice. They're very nice coils. Well, they taste good. That's what I mean by that. And so far the first 3 days I've had them, they've tasted good. And I haven't owned a whole lot of Smok coils in the past, or excuse me, a whole lot of Smok products in the past, but I've been hearing, around town and over the internet that their coils have some longevity issues and whatnot, but so far I haven't had any issues with that, with the coil I've been using. But it's only been 3 days, so I have to see what's gonna happen. But however, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna set up a new coil with the juice I've been using to show you how to get this thing started. So when you get this in the mail or you go buy it in the store, if stores are even carrying this, but to set this up is pretty much the same way you'd set any other pod mod or any other tank or even your RTAs or anything like that, rebuildable tank atomizers, blah blah blah, it's going to be the same thing here. So here, I got it here. This is a new pod. Yeah, this is the 0.8 ohm resistance. These are throwaway pods, so when they are, when the coil is no longer usable, you chuck them in the garbage. You can't take the coil out and replace the coil. You can't, the pod, you have to get rid of the pod too. The pod is not, you can't keep the pod, which I don't really mind at all. But anyway, you fill the pod here. There's a rubber plug here which you peel open with your finger. If I can just do it here. I just did it. I don't know if you can see, but I did it. And that's how you'd fill it. But for all of you new vapors out there, I've been vaping since 2013, and I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to sound like an old person, but a long time ago, or as I remember it, I'm just telling you how I remember it. Vaping products were not built as efficiently as they are now, obviously, but it was a lot easier to run into trouble with your coils and then everything else for that matter. But it's still important to use the same precautions as you did a long time ago. And when I say that, I mean, you see that white, excuse me, I'm not tech savvy at all. I have no idea what I'm doing here. But you see that white circle there? And that cylindrical center there, that is the cotton inside there, and that needs, that whole inner tube there needs to be, it's all full of cotton, or mostly full of cotton, the coils in there as well. That needs to be completely saturated juice, so as to avoid burning the cotton. Because when you, other reviewers, I do see that they do touch on this, and that's great. What I feel is that they don't touch on it enough, or they don't go into too much detail about it. And maybe I'm going into too much detail about it now. And you're probably like, shut up, just get on with it. And I'm gonna get on with it. But if I were to put this in here right now, because what I want to avoid is, I don't want any of you, especially new smokers that are switching to vaping, I don't want any of you to have issues with this, become discouraged, and then continue to smoke. I don't want that. So I want you to figure out or learn how to do this right. And if I can, I'd rather take the time to show you how to do it properly and talk my ass off than to have you just get frustrated with this and just go out and buy a pack of cigarettes for fucking $10 or $12. I know I bought a pack around where I live here for $12 or more, which is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, so I am going to, you need to make sure that the cotton inside your coil is completely wet with e-juice, because if you apply heat to your coil with the cotton around it, and any area of that cotton that is dry is going to become burnt. So what you must do is you must make sure that every area of that cotton, the whole strip of cotton in there, or the whole cylinder of cotton there, is completely saturated. And what I tend to do, and what a lot of people do, is I tend to apply several drops down the center here, so that you will initiate the process of the cottons, of the e-juice soaking into the cotton. And most times when I watch other vape review videos, people don't go into as much detail as this. And I'm not criticizing them in any way, because I know that, they just, want to get to other parts of the vape and want to also be brief. But when you add vapor down the center here, when you add juice down the center here, the juice goes down, it hits the cotton from the center of the coil, so it'll saturate. It'll help saturate. I'll put even another drop down here, and I guarantee you, if you put it right down the center, it will not flood the coil at all. If you hit the cotton from the center, it's gonna absorb. It's gonna absorb. And I think that's definitely enough. And then after that, you can just go ahead and put your juice into the pod. And wait. Crap, wait. Oh, there we go. I got my little needle nozzle, whatever it's called, into there. Oh dear, wait. Can you see it? Yeah, I'm filling it up here. I'm just filling it all the way up so it won't go anymore. Filling it up all the way up, obviously not till it overflows, and then I close the pod. Now the whole pod is full of e-liquid now. Oh, by the way, I didn't even say I'm using a very popular brand. It's been very popular for many years. Naked 100 strawberry palm nicotine salt, which is not the same as just your typical e-liquid, but I'm not going to go into that now. I am shaking this a little bit. Now, oh shoot, excuse me. When you fill it, once you've filled it, you should let it sit for about 5 minutes. And that's, usually good enough. What I do, just to ensure that we're not gonna hit any dry cotton, and we're gonna saturate every last little bit of cotton when we first activate, when we first hit the switch, or when we first pull on the vape, is about once a minute I take a few dry pulls on the pod. And then when I say dry pulls, I mean you take a few puffs, like 5 puffs, to help draw, to help suck juice into the coil, into the cotton in the coil. It helps it absorb. I know I'm taking a long time on this, but for new vapors, this should be very helpful, because I want to make sure that if you're new to this, you don't get pissed off and discouraged when you're first trying to do this. And this applies to pretty much everything in vaping. Every coil you use is gonna need this. You could fill up the tank and not do any of this, and hope for the best. And it may work, but this is just a good practice to get into. Let's see. hopefully it's gonna work. I'm gonna try it now because I've already taken up enough of your time talking too much, so let's just hope that this went okay. And let's plug it into the vape. That's right. Now this vape, when you plug it in, that when the vape senses that you plugged it in, the Novo 3, that white, you saw that white light go off. So when you have, I'll just pull on it, see what happens. I didn't really wait enough time, but let's just take a chance and see what happens, because I did prime it properly. Hopefully this minute or two is enough time. And I'm mouth to lunging this, by the way, the same way you'd hit a cigarette. Great flavor. I'm not a huge fan. I don't really care about, I mean, you may, but I'm not a huge, I don't really care about vapor production. I feel that's kind of like a childish thing to be fascinated with, but I don't know, that's just me. But what this it's about here is the flavor and the delivery of the nicotine, and that's what we're getting here. I do wish that the tightness of the draw was a little better. It's not as tight as I'd want it to be. Like when you pull on a cigarette. That's one of my few or only complaints about this thing. But it does work, and I didn't get a dry hit, which is very nice. But other than that, there's not much to this that I can really complain about. But next time I get a vape, it's going to be current, and it's not going to be 2 or 3 freaking years old. So it'll be more informative. But just because something is years old, or 5, 6, 7 years old, does not mean it's not good, does not mean it's not usable, and sometimes it even means it's better, because some of the best devices actually, or some of the best tanks, mods, in my opinion, came out a long time ago. So you can consider this one if you want. It's the Smok Novo 3 or the Smok Novo 2, because for some reason this one isn't any different than that one, except in the package it came with a new variation of their pods, which are also compatible with the Novo 2, but they're still considered, these ones are still considered to be mouth to lung pods, which are cigarette hit type. So I know I rambled quite a bit during that, but I really wanted to make sure that anyone who was trying to quit smoking, because these are perfect devices for that, these little pod mods, hopefully this would make it clear, or make setting up one of these vapes as clear as possible, because I know it can be intimidating at first, and I know for me it was intimidating many years ago when I first started. I fucked up so much before I got comfortable with it, and I had many people who, misled me when I first did it, and I was so tempted to just say fuck it and go back to cigarettes, but I didn't, because I knew it would get better, and here we are today, and hopefully the same will happen to you. And that's partially why that's all of why I talk so much, and especially in the area of priming the coils and making sure you don't burn them out. Because when you do that, you'll get a very disgusting taste in your mouth, and you also shorten the lifespan of the coil, meaning the cotton in your coil will degrade faster, and it will taste very bad. So, and that will easily discourage you from wanting to continue to do this, so, and make you want to go back to cigarettes or another harmful form of nicotine consumption. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I promise the next time I do this, it will be more to the point with a more recent device and just overall better. So thank you, and have a good day.